And we're back here on Coach's Corner on 1230 WSOO. I'm your host, as always, Dave Watson, and we have the Lake Superior State University of women's volleyball coach with us here. Of course, we've had many Lake State guests over the years, or over the past year in particular, and we thank Megan Edmonds at LSSU for scheduling our guests, and I believe it's the first time we've had Dave Schmidlin on, of course, the LSSU volleyball coach, and we welcome Dave to Coach's Corner. Thanks for stopping by and talking some volleyball with us here.
Pleasure to be here, Dave. Thanks for having me.
Lakers are in the news in volleyball, and for good reasons too. You've had some signings lately as you continue to build that program up at Lake State.
Yeah, we signed 2 local kids in the past week or so. Kayla Wilhelms from Sioux High, who will be a defensive specialist for us, and she's joining her sister, who will be a sophomore next year, and Rachel Beelan from Rudyard, who is a 5'9", 5'10" outside hitter, athletic kid, who I think both these young ladies can develop into nice players for us down the road.
Of course, always good to be able to sign local kids. That's always a good thing, and in 2 very good athletes as well.
Yeah, one of the things I was interested in when I got here was to help grow the game at the local level here, and I think the best way to do that is to give local kids the opportunity to, number one, be part of our program, develop, and let their younger sisters, their classmates, see that they can have the opportunity to compete at this level, for sure.
Of course, you signed those 2 young ladies to go with the program you're already starting to build, and this, you just finished, was it your second or third year? I apologize.
Well, this is my second season, so
okay.
It's been 2 years in March, actually.
Okay, and of course, building the program the way you and your staff would like it. And what's your thoughts as so far as you continue to grow moving forward?
Well, we've last year we brought in a big recruiting class, 9 kids, and we redshirted 2 of them, and we had a good year. Record-wise, we were 5-20, whatever, but we were really competitive. We went the distance, went 5 sets in 13 of our matches, which is half of our season. So we were right there. And this year we're bringing in another big class. We signed 6 kids in November, and when the signing period started, and it's going to make our gym a lot more competitive than it has been since I got here. We're going to have a lot more depth. The roster's going to, we've grown our roster to about 20 players, and the competition in our gym is just going to be 2 or 3 notches higher than it has been. There's going to be people challenging for positions, and competition breeds success, I feel. So,
Dave, you look at the fact that, and I remember, at the start of the show, we always give local scores here on Saturdays, and a lot of times the women's volleyball team's playing on Fridays. I remember, to your point, that there was a lot of 5-set matches, and I remember saying at one point, it comes down to bounces like any other sport. It's like, my goodness, there are several of those 5-setters, and sooner or later the bounces are going to go, the other way, and that just tells you about the competitiveness, and as you move along, you get those bounces are going to eventually, year to year, go Lake State's way, especially if they continue battling as the way they did last year.
Yeah, last year we had a lot of, we had all of our seniors played. We had 5 seniors who all had prominent roles on the team, but we were playing 4, 5, sometimes 6 freshmen also. So those freshmen got an invaluable experience. And, we're going to miss the seniors, but we've got good players coming in, too, that are going to have an opportunity to fill those roles. The biggest thing we're losing from that senior class is the experience and the leadership they brought. We go from a team that this year had 5 seniors and 2 juniors, so that's 7 upperclassmen. This year we're going to have 4 upperclassmen, and we're going to have 16 sophomores and freshmen. So, that's where the difference is going to be. We're going to have to mature a little bit. We're still going to go through some growing pains, but as we mature and they get physically stronger and mentally they understand what it takes to compete at this level, you're going to see a big spike in our success.
LSSU women's volleyball coach Dave Schmidlin joins us here in our final Coach's Corner of the season. I'm your host, Dave Watson. As we continue with Dave, Dave, you look at as you as a coach, and what are some of the keys that you believe when you laid out your keys to success and with a successful program? What are some of the main keys that you live by as far as when you're coaching a team out there?
Well, I think I want my players to be self-reliant and self-sufficient. I don't want them to rely on me or other people to, tell them what to do. I mean, I want them to learn how to make their own decisions. I want them to learn how to problem solve. And I want them to learn how to be responsible for themselves. So, sometimes they don't necessarily have those skills coming in, but the culture that we started to establish when I got here is well enough in place where the kids that are now coming in are going to get acclimated pretty quick, So that's the main thing. And obviously just competing. That's the other thing we had to work on was competing in practice instead of just not going through the motions necessarily, but going through drills, but understanding that in order to win, you've got to compete in these small things that we're doing in order to see the bigger picture.
Needs to parlay over to matches type
Absolutely.
of thing. Yeah, and you look at the GLIAC, you have to be ready to play match in, match out really in that league, because there's several good programs in there that you're battling during the course of a regular season. First of all, the GLIAC, not just the GLIAC, but our entire region is really strong in the sport. So it's, and Lake State has never really been a competitive, successful program in the GLIAC. And it's really difficult to just bring in a bunch of kids and leapfrog everybody, and and in the GLIAC alone, you have 3 teams that have won national championships. So between Northern, Ferris, and Grand Valley, those 3 programs have won national championships in the last, at least 3 of them in the last 20 years. So this conference is not for the weak of heart for sure, and that's what my kids are learning last year for sure. Dave, as you look at moving forward, and albeit here we are, talking about volleyball at the end of March, going into April. Of course, the season starts, I believe, the end of August in that neighborhood. One of the first sports that gets going, I believe, if not the first, up at Lake State along across country. But what do you look at as far as going into next year, as far as from a leadership role and some individuals that you'll look at?
Well, obviously, we're always going to lean on our seniors. Amanda Reed and Caitlin Kane have now been with me for almost 3 years now. So obviously we're looking for them. And they've been doing a good job of leading by example. They're not the most vocal kids perhaps, but they work hard, they want to do well, and they want to go out on a successful note. But we've had some other kids, Sarah Bailey from Detour High School is going to be a junior next year. She's really blossomed as a student, as a player, and she's taken on a leadership role. And then we've had Abby Beach now, who is a freshman, who got a significant amount of playing time last year, and whose mom also was played here in the 90s. She's taken on a leadership role. So it's nice that we have seniors to lean on, and they've been through the wars and stuff. But now we have some younger kids who are starting to, looking to leave a footprint and buy into our culture.
And that's really the big thing you're trying to, get out. Imagine is your culture and what you want to be able to develop with that program to be able to be successful.
Absolutely, and that's you asked what is the most important. That is the most important thing, to buy into the culture. Lake State isn't necessarily an easy sell to. Kids down below the bridge, especially from the Detroit area, the west side and stuff. But we found kids who are a good fit, who are athletically talented kids who are looking for what we're selling right now. And I think, we've done a good job of identifying those kids. And once they've gotten here, once they get acclimated, you're seeing, I just spoke on Sarah and Abby, but there's other kids, freshmen in our program now, who are really starting to step up and for the lack of a better word, they're not being leaders necessarily, but they've really bought in.
Well, and the bottom line, I think you just hit on it, the fact that, it can be a tough sell, and you guys don't use that as an excuse, any of the coaches up there, whether from one sport to another. And, I think back to when Steve Hennigan came up and the program was struggling, because that's what happens, throughout programs at any kind of level, at collegiate level up to what have you. And he came in, and that's a tough sell with, I don't care what the sport is, geographics are geographics, and he's built a culture and built the program, and that's what you're trying to do now, and it takes some time, and you obviously have to get the kids to buy in.
Yes, and that's one of the reasons we had these last two recruiting classes have been big. You wanted to, when I got here, we were down to 15, 16 players, which, you're only a couple injuries away from hardly having a practice.
Right.
And it's, the culture is so important here. There's a market out there for kids who are looking for that small school, intimate education experience. And the fact that volleyball hasn't had much success in the past, and we have an opportunity and to be quite honest, we have a lot of the resources we need to be a successful program. We have the scholarships. We have great educational programs. We really do have a great university. And, it's a beautiful campus. And even when it's buried in 8 feet of snow, it's a beautiful campus,
We've lost quite a bit, but there's still a lot there.
Absolutely. And we have a great group of kids who have created a family atmosphere. One of the things that we signed a kid from New Mexico in November, who then they visited for the first time. They visited campus for the first time when there were students on it in November during Great Lakes State weekend, and I think that was our last home game for the season. And after they left, they posted. I think they posted on Facebook or something. Just left what we thought was the most close-knit, family-oriented team we've ever experienced.
That's quite a compliment.
Yeah.
And, and they're still early on, and that says something right there. Dave Schmidlin joins us, Lake State women's volleyball coach. Of course, you get ready, just talking about the upcoming season and, of course, what they were doing up at Lake State. And, of course, volleyball gets going next year in August when the season gets going. And Dave just finished his second year at Lake State. Will be getting ready for his third one coming up. And anything else we have to hit on, Dave, that you'd like to mention before we bail out of here?
No, I think we're going to open our season September 3rd with an exhibition against Alma College. This is the first time we've actually had a preseason match, so to speak, to sort of get the kinks out. So that's going to be our first opportunity to see the girls in action. We're going to have a really young team. We've got a lot of good athletes, and we've got a lot of girls who have been out in the community doing things. We've got our players coaching the local club team, Superior Storm, which I've also been involved with. They've been out in the community doing the reading program with the schools. We've been volunteering at the hospital. We built the snowman and set it on fire last week, I believe. So, our kids are really buying into what this community is about, and it'd be great to have some people to come out and support them and watch them play and see them in action.
Well, sounds good, Dave, and good luck with what you're doing up at Lake State. Of course, good to see Laker volleyball being real competitive and getting going. Of course, and I think it's a good shape with someone as enthusiastic as you are with the program. That's really good. And thanks again, as always, for stopping by and chatting with us about Laker volleyball.